It's time for FOMO, and there is no better name to discuss for FOMO than naturally Nvidia, as shares are up now 78% on the year. They've pulled back, of course, but hey, making a 6.5% move today, not too shabby. So here to tell us more what's driving some of this momentum, I'd like to welcome in Diane King Hall, senior markets correspondent for the network. So thank you so much for being here today, Diane. Happy Friday. It's a good Friday to talk about Nvidia because we're rallying.
Right, it's a good Friday for Nvidia, for Supermicro. Any of these companies that are at the forefront of this AI arms race are gaining ground today. And any companies that even have exposure to this growth in AI, especially this generative AI space, when we talk about the whether it's the chips or the picks and shovels in this space, you're looking at Nvidia. It is higher today by 6.5%, so it's even higher than the last time I talked about Nvidia. Though it's not at its all-time high, it's gradually moving closer and closer to that. I mean, once upon a time at its 52-week high, it was trading well above $900 a share. And again, this is in front of its earnings. Its earnings haven't even come out yet. We're weeks away from its earnings. What's driving this? This is this CapEx spin that we're hearing about from these mega cap tech names like a Meta, like a Google parent company Alphabet, like Microsoft. All of them talked about this on their earnings calls, right? The CEOs of each of these companies talked about buying the chips from Nvidia, so that is just fueling the momentum in this stock today. And even though they have their own chips that they're making, both companies, in particular, Google parent company Alphabet and Microsoft CEO, talked about the CapEx spend on AI and the continuation of that spending there. And of course, we don't want to forget about Supermicro. They've got partnerships with these chip makers, including the leader, Nvidia, AMD. You're also seeing AMD gain some ground today. Supermicro up about 9% at the moment. So it's certainly gaining some ground on the back of this AI boom. Jenny and Alex?
Diane, when you look at this stock, I mean, it's swinging around hundreds of billions of dollars a day. If you look at the S&P 500 yesterday, its rally, it was responsible for 10% of it. It's just so important to the market. You get that feeling. I mean, you're on the floor, you're talking to people, whether it's on air or just in passing. Is it to the point now where if you get Nvidia right, you can largely almost tell where the market's going?
Well, that's the leadership here, exactly. What we're hearing in terms of the analyst commentary on it is it's really these mega names like an Nvidia that are carrying the S&P 500, that are carrying this market. We've constantly talked about a little bit of a broadening out, but again, the leadership rests with companies like this. And I don't want to forget about Supermicro because we know they have their earnings next week. They report next. Supermicro reports next Tuesday. In terms of its growth, it was enough for it to gain a position in the S&P 500 this year. You'll recall it entered the S&P 500 earlier this year. Now, in terms of what expectations are for Supermicro, analysts expecting it to report that revenue will jump more than 200% to nearly $4 billion. EPS expected to hit $5.84 a share. Again, that's a huge jump from what it was same time a year ago. A company like Micro is trying to keep up with this demand for AI, the servers that it produces. It is AI-focused server business in partnership with Nvidia, with AMD, even Intel, although Intel is certainly not participating in this ride higher that we're seeing in terms of the AI-focused company. Intel is really the laggard when we look at that.
That's what's so amazing to me, frankly, is that Supermicro has been able to hold on because so many of these like ancillary winners of AI have somewhat fallen off or they've seen just a pullback. And I know Supermicro has pulled back, but not really, not when you look at this chart.
Yeah, look, Supermicro had a blip, I think it was about a week ago, a big blip as well. But investors are like, forget about it today. Let's get in front of, maybe this is a buy the rumor, sell the news. We'll certainly see when it posts its results next Tuesday. Or is it more, we really believe in this company's positioning in the AI arms race and how it's partnered up with its bedfellows with the leader, the number 2 company, and even, let's not forget about poor Intel here.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I mean, Intel has fumbled the ball. I mean, clearly they've had an opportunity basically handed to them on a silver platter, and they can't seem to do anything properly at the moment. But in the case of Nvidia, I mean, I see 61 buys, 7 holds. I know not every one of these is up to date. At this point, if you're in the neutral camp, like to me, you're stepping out on a ledge. That's the sell rating in an Nvidia. And I love the conversation around SMCI. I think it's a good story. But Nvidia today, this $55 rally is almost 3 SMCIs. Like, it's just different levels here.
It's true.
When you hear, like Edgewater Research, I see just came out with a couple days ago a neutral rating on Nvidia. Is it almost like a shock? Is it like a headline grabber where you're like, what do you mean you're neutral on this stock? I mean, you're stepping on the ledge. You're unique if you make that call.
Well, you saw my reaction when you said that. I was like, what? That doesn't make sense. I mean, and I don't know if it's just a going against the grain kind of thing, because when you think about all the conversations about what we have about where we are in the development of generative AI, we constantly hear that we are still in the early innings. So if we are in the early innings, and if Nvidia is still the leader and it continues to beat quarter after quarter after quarter, why would you get in front of that moving train?
That's sort of been our argument for quite some time, is this is a train that's moving with conviction, either like get on or stay off at this point, I guess.
Get off.
Yeah, especially after this week. And I will say I want to speak to Supermicro's day of selling last Friday, and Nvidia also saw its worst day since 2020, but it's rallied back 15% since. So it's just amazing the resiliency of so many of these AI winners, as the market has deemed them. But we will leave it there. Great insight as always, and have a wonderful weekend. Diane King Hall, Senior Markets Correspondent for the network.